Hello, hello.
What's up, everybody?
Okay, so the amount of deliberation on this side of the screen before clicking.
The live button.
Oh my goodness. Okay, yeah, there was quite a bit of deliberation happening of like, do we do this?
Yeah,
Do we not?
I was just wondering if I had enough makeup on or anything like that. So, but I don't. It's
Oh
okay.
my word. Okay, so we are live in two places. Hey Julie, how are you, girl? I'm so happy to see you. Yay, Julie Amato. He's not going to know salt of the earth on this.
I don't know.
I know you. Okay, so we are live on Facebook and on Instagram. So hello to both of you. So if you are on Instagram, we have a whole Facebook family, and if you are on Facebook, I'm over on Instagram at the Wit Life Coach. So if you prefer one over the other, that's where we are. We're on both. So this is a big deal, you guys.
Yeah, long road.
We have been wanting to do this for like, years, let's just say. But for the last 4 days, we have tried several times to hop on here and just be like, let's just do it. And they were like, no, let's just do it. No, we can't.
And then all hell broke loose. Let's just be honest.
Yeah, just so many things have happened, and that's just the truth of life and relationships. And whether you're tuning in and you are married, or you are separated, or you are divorced, or you are looking for a relationship, I think maybe a couple things that we might share today just from our hearts could apply to any and all situations. And I just want to preface with a couple things. First off, this is Nathan. Many of you know us, and you have known more of us. And you have known us as a unit, Nathan and Jenny, for so long. And then there was a, wait, where's Nathan moment for a very long moment, right?
I was asking that for years. Like, where's Nathan? I don't even know.
I was actually asking that on this side of things too. Even in the moment of Nathan and Jenny, I was going, where's Nathan? That was fun.
Yeah.
So there was this moment, and there's just been this gap, and it's been years. And so the epicness of this moment, and that's not even a word, but we're going to make it one, is just huge. I had so many emotions last night, even like thinking about doing this, and so many emotions this morning, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I haven't even had coffee yet. Like, I don't know if I can do this. Just kidding. But
I have extra coffee.
you have heard a lot from me. You have probably, if you've been following along for a while on Instagram or on Facebook, you have been hearing from me. And I just felt like, there's this moment where you probably need to hear from this guy.
There's another side.
The myth, the legend. And how many times I've talked about him on here. I figured, I might as well just give him his voice and let him share directly with you. And I literally have some thoughts, but I feel like so scattered right now. And I just want you all to know that if you've ever been in that moment where you're like, should I push play? Should I go live? That scary moment, I want you to know that I feel it too, that I am so far out of my comfort zone right now in this moment. It's just...
Yeah, I have a tendency to go down rabbit trails and tracks because I can do that. But
so far out of my comfort zone. But we're here. We're going to say
That's
uncomfortable because that, honestly, in the uncomfortable moments and in the pain and in the messy is where I tend to see the most growth for myself. Yeah. So, guys, it's been a journey. And if you saw the post prior to this, kind of telling you a little bit of what this was about, our desire, honestly, is just to hop on here and give some of you hope. I know that so many of you are in really, really tough situations. I think 2020, for a lot of us, probably revealed a lot of the situations. I don't know if it actually caused them. For most of you, you were probably already in a relationship or married or in the life circumstance that you were in for years at that point, and then you get thrown into a home together 24/7, and it just, it just shows the problems. And for Nathan and I, things really just came to a head prior to that, though. We can't even blame 2020. Damn,
no.
Darn it.
Yeah.
We cannot even use that as our excuse because all of our stuff...
2020 was the tipping point that just pushed us over to go, yeah, there's lots of issues and lots of problems.
Lots of issues.
And we had to face into them.
So. Yeah, so we are here in this moment together. This is just like, whew, breathe for a second.
Yeah.
Okay, So there are so many things just running through my head that I want to put out a disclaimer that some of the stuff that we might share with you, I want you to know it's not a formula. It's not a method. It's not something that we are saying, this is what you have to do. Like if you want to save your marriage and you want to fix your relationships, these are the things you must do to do it. We're not saying that. That's kind of baloney. Like every relationship is so intricate and so detailed and has so many facets to it. We bring so many different things into our relationships from our family of origin. We bring so many things from our personalities. Like there's just so many layers. So there is no like here's the formula, but we want to give you just maybe a couple things to think about that were just so huge for us.
And we won't be able to cover everything either. Like this, there's just no way. There's too much.
We are going to scratch the surface.
We're just going
today.
to barely probably touch it a little bit.
But I think some of you've been watching some of my stuff, you have been listening in, and you have a longing for more. There is a longing in your heart for just more, and you want something new. You're tired of where your relationship is at, and you've maybe even been scared to be honest about that. I think that was where I was at. And so much, again, so many of you have probably heard me talk about this. I'm going to let Nathan take over and talk some more, and I'm going to be quiet, is there was so much fear in me to say things are not okay because of the system that we had set up in our relationship, in our businesses, in our marriage. We were doing what we knew to do. I mean, we were trying to earn a living and build businesses and raise babies. We got pregnant a month after we got married. We've been together now for almost 22 years. We're coming up on 20, and then we've been together for 22. There's a lot of stuff in that time that you just do on autopilot. You just don't even, like, you don't know what you don't know until you're in it and you're like, oh, this isn't working. And for me, there was just such a longing for more. And it took getting to the place of being willing to do something new, something that I'd never done before. We'd done counseling, we'd done marriage retreats, we'd taught at them, you guys. And not that the things were false or untrue or anything. Those were things that we were sharing that we had learned up until that moment.
But the truth is, the fight for me at that point was I was fighting more to be comfortable than to connect. And anything I could do, and I didn't realize I was doing that. It was like we're in the midst of all this and you're going, oh, I'm trying to provide, or I'm trying to do the right things, or I'm trying to say the right things. And it was really more about comfort, and really my comfort in a lot of ways, than to really connect, and it created a lot of loneliness.
Lots of loneliness there. I mean, drop a comment below if you are in a. Oh, I didn't even see comments coming through. Hey Emma. Hey Ashley. Oh my goodness, Jenny, Cheryl. Jenny, she's crying already. Oh my word, I've seriously been like so emotional. If you could get really close to me right now and see my eyeliner. I was like shaking trying to put it on. I'm like, why am I even trying this? So if there's any dudes like watching, I'm sorry you don't understand this. But like ladies, like I was like, why do I even put on makeup this morning? Because this is like not even working. But you brought up an interesting word. There is a phrase that we say a lot of just like fight for your marriage, fight for your marriage. And I think that's what's in both of our hearts to just talk about this morning is if you want to fight for your marriage, maybe it's time to consider fighting differently. Maybe it's time to consider showing up to that fight in a different way. Because what you're doing right now isn't working. If it was working, you'd have the marriage that you long for. You'd have that more that is deep in your heart that's just like pulling you. You don't even have full words to articulate what's deep in there. You love your spouse, you think he's amazing. It wasn't for a fact of not loving each other. And I think that's where so many of us go kind of south or sideways is we're like, but I love him and I should be okay and I should be content. But there's this more, and that longing and that discontent is actually beautiful because it's pulling you to deeper intimacy. It's inviting you to like take your relationship to a whole new level. But either we do different things, and that's what we're going to talk about, is like we do different things to try to get there. We fight in a certain way, not like argue fight, but we fight in a certain way for our marriage in a way that that isn't working.
Yeah.
And we had to get to a place, I got to a place where I had to change that fight. And so I've talked about this a little bit publicly, but I wanted Nathan to just talk about maybe from his perspective, what that felt like. So for those of you that are kind of just joining in the journey, we went through a very painful period of 18 months of separation. And the day that I asked for that, it was a blindside. I mean, we were sitting with a pastor in his office. Nathan's thinking we're doing like counseling. I say blindside, but it really wasn't. The writing was on the wall.
Yeah.
Like it had been actually like attempted and
There
tried
was
for
definitely
years.
fractures that we saw.
There was a lot of ruptures, a lot of fractures, a lot of things that were pointing to this moment. But that for me, I'll say from where I'm at, and then I want Nathan to share, is that for me was fighting differently. So many people would, and again, this is why I say this is not a formula, this is not a method, this is not something that we're saying, okay, so if you want a better marriage, go separate from your spouse. Please hear me say, that's not what I'm saying. For us and where we were at specifically, we had done all the things and tried all the things, and so that moment of our story, the next right step for us was to create some space because of the issues that were going on. Things were so smushed and so enmeshed. We didn't know where one person ended and the other began. We couldn't get healthy because we were just all the time. Yeah. And so that was the fight that I was willing to stand in, is like, I am fighting for our marriage. It's just going to look different. I'm laying down the arms that I have been bearing for so long, which was come at him, talk more, believing deep in my heart that if I could just articulate it better, if I could just communicate more clearly, then he'd see me, then he'd hear me, then he'd understand me, and he'd finally get it. The light bulbs would finally go off. Yeah. And it wasn't working. So I want you to just talk about, like, what was that fight like for you, and how scary was that? How much did it push some of those even religious buttons for you of like, okay, this is so wrong, you can't be doing this?
Well, I think what's important, like, the fight for me, when you were fighting me and telling me, hey, do this, or just highlighting things for me, or telling me, hey, I wasn't doing something right, and I'm constantly just focused on it. What I was hearing as a man and as a husband was my shame. I see it as shame now, was just constantly being pushed like I'm not good enough. That's all I was hearing, and so it would just continue to have me spiral down further and further, wanting me to disconnect and push away even more. Not even realizing I was doing it because I was trying to protect myself. I was in like this protection mode. And so when that was her fight, and I just kept going, well, let's fight for the marriage. Let's do this, instead of me taking a look at the real issue for me, which Jenny had already been doing. Jenny Ray had already been doing. She was already looking at herself, doing the work that she needed to do. I wasn't willing to do that. And all I was hearing was, you're not good enough. And I would just continue to step back more and more and not do the hard work. And so...
And you kept bringing it back to, let's just work on our marriage.
Yeah.
So that's something we hear a lot of couples say, let's just work on our marriage. So you had a major epiphany about, let's work on our marriage. Can you talk about that for a second, about the 3 different relationships that are actually in existence?
Yeah, so I realized, and this was through counseling and a lot of different stuff, that there's me, there's Jenny Ray, and then there's our marriage. And what I grew up in a family where, in a world, being an identical twin, where there's no separation in my life. There was no Nathan is alone, in the sense like Nathan is autonomous, like he is his own person, he is whole. I didn't know that. I didn't even know what that even looked like, or even where to begin what that looked like. And so I was constantly pulling from Jenny, going, hey, let's become one. We're one, and this is going to fix it all. Instead of me going, no, become one with me and who I am, and whole in who I am, so that I can contribute my half to the marriage, and Jenny can contribute her half to the marriage, creating one whole entity. It was always us going, well, let's become one together, 50-50, and then we make one whole. No, it's 2 wholes, and this was huge. You know, Jenny Ray teaches this in her course and all this stuff of like 2 wholes is actually what creates a healthy relationship. Whether that's a marriage, whether that's a relationship with your kids, it doesn't matter. Like you're having to become more authentic and aware. So I was so fractured growing up, realizing that I did not know who I was. It was an identity issue at the core of what it was. I didn't...
Well, and I think whether you're an identical twin or not, like so many of us, I struggled with that. You know, we all struggle with identity issues, and whether, you know, being the youngest of 4 and finding my identity in sports and academics and My sister was a star athlete, so I wanted to be a star athlete, and just and like going on into my 20s and 30s and finding my identity and what I did, and reaching to the top of companies and accolades and achievements, all those things. Everybody, we all do it, whether you're an identical twin or whatever you are. You're finding your identity in being a mom. It's just so easy to get lost into those roles that we play, and even the role of spouse. Like, we can so lose ourselves in our marriages, which I know sounds so crazy, but 20 years in, to find myself so lost, and feel like I am literally going under, and I don't know if I will ever come back up. I didn't know if I would ever be able to get up and like catch my breath and be like, okay, who am I really? I just felt like I was drowning under it. And one thing that Nathan said that I think is so good is realizing those 3 relationships, and that was the game changer for me. And I'll let you speak for yourself, but the game changer for me was, we have been fed so much BS from Hollywood, from songs, from so many things of like, you complete me.
That's right.
But the truth is, we buy it because we long for it. We buy it because we want that as little girls, and I think as little boys, like growing up and then going into the dating scene and then into college, like we long for that person to rescue us, whether it's a girl, or we long to be the rescuer, or...
And a man does want to be a hero too, at the same
There's
time.
Those healthy
the fight.
pieces.
Yeah.
Absolutely. There's healthy pieces, but so many things in all of our stories make those things jaded or unhealthy. And so then we come to this person and we go, you are you complete me. Yeah. And marriage is the only place where 2 halves actually don't make a whole. So you said it the second time through. I just wanted to clarify. It's a whole person and a whole person. Now we can work on this third entity of the relationship. Now we can actually work on that third piece, where so many of us are going fracture, but if we can just work on this relationship, somehow that's going to translate and make each of us whole. And it doesn't, you guys. That's what we've been doing for years. That was the fight. We were fighting for working on the relationship, fighting for making that whole. But all the while, each one of us as individuals, we weren't whole. We weren't whole. We weren't healthy. And we had so many things under the surface that we were believing, that were motivating and driving all of the behaviors.
Yeah, and I'll say, really, those are the things you want to have happen. But hey, you want to do it individually. Jenny Ray wants to do it individually. But the truth was, I wasn't willing to do it. The pain wasn't great enough for me. So what Jenny did, which is really the biggest thing, was Jenny went first. Jenny had the courage to say, I'm going to do something, and I'm going to go first. And I realized that for me, until I came to the point, and that was a catalyst for me. It was an invitation for me. That's what it was. So Jenny Ray was like, hey, I want a different life for me. I want to be whole. And I didn't know that she was doing that, but it allowed me to, for the first time in my life, especially in the life that I grew up in as an identical twin, always never being enmeshed with anything and everything that was keeping me okay and comfortable. That was ripped away. I was alone for the first time, and I had to look at things, and I could either look at it to go, I'm going to go and medicate, or I'm going to actually have this an invitation to grow and do something different. And praise God, I did something different, and I started to do a work that I'll never be the same, because Jenny Ray did something first, and she had the courage to do it, and that was huge. So it was a catalyst that pushed me. For me, and again, this might not happen for everyone. If you're a guy watching this, if you're a woman watching this, that might not always be the case, but it was for me, because I realized I wanted something more for me. And I had to make the choice for me to be different, to show up differently. And I was grateful because she took the steps first to go and say, I've got to do this for me. And it allowed me to go, oh, I want that. I want that for my life. And in doing that, it allowed us to begin to create something different. Now, it was a long time, 18 months separation, hell on earth for me. I
remember one day, like, finding out at some point. So he was in an apartment. like right down the road. And I remember he was getting to this place where like there was just this shift, there was this turning point. And in that journey, I mean, again, you guys, we could talk for days. There's so many things we could talk about of like, well, how did you know? How did you know when he started changing? How did he know when I was changing? Like, I mean, there's so many things we can talk about here. But I just remember this moment where you were telling me about, it was like this breaking point for you. I just get emotional even thinking about it, of like him in his apartment, like literally screaming into a pillow because of the silence. Like he needed to break the silence. Like and for me hearing that, it was the first time I realized, like,
you're gonna make me cry.
It was the first time I realized, like, from the moment he was even conceived, he'd been with another person from conception. He'd never been alone. And so much of that dynamic in our relationship was such a fear of being alone, such a, like, I can't do it on my own, like as a man, like, I mean, you can
Did I have what it took to be a man, to be a husband, to be a father? I just kept realizing how much I felt like a fraud, like I was an imposter, like, for years. And I couldn't have fully identified that until there was that breaking moment. I was screaming in my pillow, and just the silence was so great. I just needed something to distract me, but I was willing to sit in that pain because I thought legitimately, and I told Jenny this, like I told you, Jenny Ray, this. I said, I feel like I'm going to die. I feel like literally, if I step into this pain fully, I will die. But it was in that embracing of that full pain, of that full silence, is when the breaking began to happen. And at that moment, new dance steps and new things began to release for me because I was willing to embrace it and surrender to it. So, and that's hard. Again, that's not an easy thing. Like, it's not even something I would sign up for. No one wants to sign up for that. That's not like, hey, sign me up. Let's do this. Let's do hell on earth and pain. Great. Like, you don't sign your name to that. But in the midst of that, that's where the freedom began to happen for me. And I think it's really what begins to happen for most men and women if they're willing to do a different dance. But going back to this again, and again, we could talk more about this on maybe another time if Jenny Ray invites me back. But
of course, if you guys want him back.
But just someone has to take the first step.
Yes.
Someone has to take the first step, and you can't look at it the same way. You have to be willing to go after it. And whether you're a man, you're a woman listening to this right now, like Jenny Ray has 20 plus years. She has done so much growth work and so much counseling and stuff a lot of it's because of me. But
Thank you.
Because you're welcome.
Thank you for helping me get where I am.
But
indirectly.
But what she's put together and the things that she's already working with so many women around the country and world. I just want to encourage you, there's a different way to do this. And what she did and what other women have stepped into in her coaching and the stuff that she's doing, it's a different dance step. Again, it might not be for everybody, but for me, for a man in who I am, it was an invitation. It was a catalyst for me to do something different. If you're a man, it's beginning to step into something new, looking at it from a different standpoint, not saying, I just need to fix the marriage. Stop fixing the marriage. Stop trying to fix it. Start embracing what is mine to own. Who do I want to become? And in doing that, it could release something new.
Yeah, I think that was the turning point, was whenever I finally saw him stepping into things because he was committed to be someone different. Not because he stopped trying to save or fix the marriage. He stopped trying to pull me into couples counseling. And again, not that any of those things are wrong or bad. I know couples counseling has saved so many lives and marriages. And I would never tell you again, what we did was a formula for you to follow. Yeah. It was us listening. It was praying. It was being led by God's Spirit every single moment of every day, going, what is the next right step? And so many of those steps, so many of the change of dance steps was literally like the most awkward dance step change. It was the most uncomfortable thing I could have ever imagined. He was having to do the same things. And one thing that I just think is so big, that observing Nathan from this side, was he didn't choose to numb out and go to, pornography or addictions or other things, which those all contribute to where we're at. I mean, that's where we're at. And so many relationships, one or both spouses are turning to things to numb out. And we're numbing out from the pain. We're numbing out. And what is pain? This is this big thing. It's these moments that happen, but it's the things that we feel on the other side of it. It's the loneliness. It's the deep loneliness. And how do you be in a relationship with somebody for so long and yet feel so lonely? It's because when you're so disconnected from who you truly are, and if neither one of you really are grounded in that, and you've lost your identity in any way, to the roles you've played, the responsibilities you carry, the identical twinness, whatever it is, you've lost that self. How do we expect then to be able to come together and have any sort of intimate connection and any sort of like deeper relationship when we don't even have that with ourselves yet? And so what really shifted for me is, for me too, I had to stop. The dance step that I changed was I finally released. See you, David. It was so good to see you. Yes. Who do I want to become? David is all about the becoming. This dude has like spoken so much truth and life into me, and I'm so grateful for you, David Waldy. Go check him out. He is a powerhouse. But so much of the dance steps that needed to change for me was stop managing, stop controlling. And I was doing those things thinking this is helping the relationship. I was doing those things thinking I'm trying to prevent disaster. But in reality, I had to let disaster happen if that was what was going to happen. Because both of us had to have the freedom to choose who we wanted to be, who we wanted to become. And until we each decided that on our own, without the other person scripting us, without the other person prompting us, who did we want to be for our life, period? Who did we want to be for the rest of our lives? And I knew that deep down inside, I know this sounds so trite almost, but I wanted to be happy. I'd grown up hearing about the joy of the Lord as my strength. I'd grown up hearing all these things, and I had such a deep relationship with Jesus, and yet I wasn't happy so much of the time. What was always coming out of me was anger and lashing out, and so then I would feel so much shame over how I reacted to him. And I was doing those things. Anger is the emotion of passion. It's the emotion of movement. And so
it's not what you think it is.
It's not what you think it is. Mm-hmm. What I was actually doing was good in the sense of my anger was fighting. I was fighting for our relationship. I was fighting to get it to move forward and to go somewhere. But what I wasn't willing to listen to and to be honest with and admit was that the relationship didn't want to go anywhere because I can't do it on my own. Yeah. I had to let go of the anger, which I was using to really protect me from making hard next steps or really doing my own work. Mm-hmm. Like really saying, okay, who does Jenny Ray want to be? I know that I want to be authentically me. And I don't really know who that is. I have also contributed to how enmeshed we are, how every business was together, which again, those are all happy, good things, but when done in a healthy place. But the reason we were doing them, it wasn't healthy. No. What we were trying to get out of it wasn't healthy. So once we were able to peel back those layers and each one of us decide who we wanted to be as individuals, that was the game changer. It changed. And so if you want something new, friends, you have to do something new. You can't keep doing the same thing you're doing in your relationship and expect something different. And I want to encourage any men that are watching. Michael, I see you. David, several others. I just want to encourage you to be courageous. Be courageous. Like, I cannot tell you, a woman will respond when they see you truly truly become the person you want to be. Not who you think she wants you to be. Not who you think the marriage even needs. Who are you committed to be? Yeah. And and what resources do you need in your life to help you get there? Because whether you're a man or a woman, you can't get there alone. Sure. Both of us tried, right?
Yeah, for sure.
We both tried. And yes, I was doing counseling, I was doing different things. And also, I was still trying to get there alone. I still was guarded. I had a wall up. I wasn't really letting people fully know the whole truth of what was going on inside of me. I was afraid of, that image, and what are they going to think of me, and am I going to be judged? And I know you were probably dealing with some similar things, and it really took letting down that wall and being honest, being able to be real with what reality was, and then say, what are the resources I need?
And if you're a woman listening to this, I just want to encourage you, because what Jenny Ray did and how brave she was to take the step was a catalyst for me, was an invitation as a man. And there was no cost that she wasn't willing to pay, and it came to the point where I came to the point going, there's no cost that I'm not willing to pay in order to become who I need to become. But she went first, and I want to encourage you, you need to take a step. If you want that life. Again, only if you want it. You have to choose it. But I just want to encourage you, as a man, seeing it, experiencing what I saw in Jenny Ray and how she changed the dance steps up. It will radically do something different for you by going first. And so if you're a woman, please know it was an invitation. It'll be an invitation for your kids. Your kids will thank you. Your relationships will thank you. Things will begin to open up if you go first. And I can't say that enough, what it was for me. It was a catalyst for me. It was an invitation. So
and we'll just close out with this. Again, we could go for days here, but thank you for being with us in the messiness of all of this, of just this is the first time we've really gone live here in years. Is so many of you, I know, I started out, and some of you are jumping in later, I started out just saying that you have a longing for more. You know you want something different. You know you want something new. And we want to go so fast to the how. Oh my goodness, guys, just tell me, how do I navigate what's happening with my teenagers right now? We're in the midst of separation, and how do I navigate that? Or how do I navigate when he does this, and how do I respond to that? We all want the hows, and there are how-tos. There are clear hows that you can get those answers. Yeah. But I think we have to all back up and start at who. I'm just going to leave you with this thought of who. Who do you want to be? Make a list today of, when you look at yourself right now and what's coming up and out of you, oftentimes we get so angry at our spouse for the thing that we actually hate in us. Mm-hmm. So when Nathan would do certain things and I would jump on it, try to change it, I was really trying to change him, because I couldn't change it about me. And I hated that thing about me, and so it was easier to try to fix it in him instead of, let me just get enough space.
She wasn't okay unless I was okay.
Yep, and
vice versa.
Vice versa. It was just that's the only word to say about it. And I have no idea if auto captions are on or how auto captions is going to caption that way.
I don't know what that's like.
I have no idea what that looks like on a caption. But we're here to tell you there is hope if you are willing to fight differently. If you are willing to fight first for yourself. Yeah. For so many years, you've probably been fighting for the relationship. You've been fighting for your kids. Mom, dad, husband, wife, take a step back and begin to fight for yourself. Get clear on who you are. The relationship cannot tell you who you are. Your children cannot tell you who you are. Your spouse cannot tell you who you are. You have to decide. And as my friend David Waldy says, you have to decide, you have to commit, and you have to become whatever it takes. Whatever it takes. And if you are willing to do that, if you're willing to decide, commit, and become, and start that journey and do whatever it takes, I promise you that something will shift. I can't promise you what will. We can't promise you what the relationship will do. But we can promise you, in changing those dance steps and beginning to go first for yourself, you will create a dynamic that the other person has to respond to. They have to respond. And they'll respond by changing their dance steps, learning to dance a new way, or they may say they don't want to dance anymore. And again, we won't go there yet. All we can do is change the dance steps today, and let that be good enough. And so what is the new? And if you are listening and you want new in your relationship, you want new in your life, whatever that is, and you want to become something new, just drop new in the comments. Mm-hmm. Whether you're on Instagram, over on our Instagram family, or on Facebook, drop new in the comments and let's connect. I would love to hear more of your story, where you're at on your journey right now.
If you're a woman, direct message her because she's gonna
Let's chat.
chat.
And also, if you want to hear more of this messy, crazy journey, drop that in the comments too, because I'm sweating. And so you got to tell me if this is one and done, and we're good, or if you guys want to hear a little bit more of the journey and hear more from this guy. So we love you guys. I know we went a little bit long, but thanks for joining in. Thanks for your thoughts, and we will talk soon. Maybe we will talk again. All right, guys. Bye.
Bye.
And Instagram family,